Good morning. Welcome to Hat Talks at the Forum, brought to you by the Humanist Association of Toronto. Today's Hat Talker will be Janet Rudd. Janet is speaking to us today in the capacity of Humanist Officiant, licensed by the Ontario Humanist Society on behalf of the province of Ontario. During the talk, Janet will inform us about the role of Humanist Officiant, the criteria and process to become an officiant, all illustrated by stories from her personal experience in collaborating with couples to create their unique wedding ceremonies. Janet has been a member of HAT for many years now and has served on the steering committee for the past 4. She is also a member of the Ontario Humanist Society and participates on the OHS Ceremonies Committee for Officiants. Janet has been privileged to celebrate milestone events with couples, and she is looking forward to facilitating more romantic weddings in the future under safer conditions. With her presentation, Getting Married, for better, for worse, in COVID and in health, please join me in welcoming to the forum, Janet Rudd.
Great events in their lives, and they just need a trained facilitator. Because humanist ceremonies are non-religious, it opens up a whole areas of creativity. So a humanist, an event, is respectful, community-minded, and celebrates the individuals and the occasions that they wish to celebrate. It can be lighthearted, formal, traditional. It can just range through the whole gamut. But a common element in a humanist ceremony is that the officiant introduces themselves and talks about the authority under which they are licensed, and then provides a brief description of humanism. And everybody has their own. I generally say a sentence or two like this, that humanism is an ethical philosophy of life, embracing core values of responsibility, equality, compassion, and love. Respect for oneself, others, and our planet is also a core value. Statements similar to that. And so that becomes a core part of all of our ceremonies. So these are the type of ceremonies that officiants are trained to deliver. The thing they have in common is that they all take careful preparation. The only one that has the legal requirement is our weddings and elopements. All of the others do not need to be conducted by a trained and licensed officiant. And again, the funerals, the celebrations of life, outside of the confines of a church, a secular celebration for a deceased person can focus on their life and outside of the doctrine. It doesn't have to be hymns or prayers. It can be songs and poems. And this is tending to be far more common these days. Other rites of passage, something I'd like to do is christening, naming a boat. I'd love to do that. I've never done that. I have the love of boats and champagne. That would be fun. Okay, just a sample of my business card, but sorry, it's sort of cut off on the one side. I know it's a little bit busy. I just did a quick pick just to show the kind of range of services they're provided. And also you can see my email. This is all part of our branding or marketing that we'll talk about a little bit later that is required. It's a bit busy. I may need to do a refresh. We'll have to. Okay, you might be interested in knowing about the pathways to become an officiant, a humanist officiant in Ontario. And so there are 2 pathways. I've gone through training with the Ontario Humanist Society, and you'll see their website here. The other pathway is Humanist Canada, also does an evaluation, a training program for humanists. But I, again, urge you to check both of those websites for official information. I'm going to give you quite a bit, but you will want to check the official sites. I just was interested to find out how many other officiants there are in Ontario besides humanist. And there are about 20,000 in Ontario, which is huge. And they are licensed with various religious or spiritual organizations. Some are evangelical organizations from their names and descriptions, and some are more spiritual. But just for your information, there are only about 40, which is like 39, Ontario Humanist Society officiants, and about 70 Humanist Canada officiants from my counts. So there's not that many humanist officiants in Ontario. So I'm going to talk about processing criteria to become a humanist officiant. Now, I'm only going to be speaking from Ontario Humanist Society's perspective, since I'm not affiliated in that manner with Humanist Canada, and they have their own but fairly similar process. And right up front on the OHS's website, and I'm meaning, of course, Ontario Humanist Society, it says very clearly that applications are not considered. If you just want to do a ceremony for your sister, your best friend, etc., if that's no, don't bother applying to the Humanist Society. You need to the Humanist Society requires a commitment and a real interest in humanism, and that again, that's why if there's a conflict of interest, or it's a sort of a profit motive, you would be directed elsewhere. The driving force is the humanist motive. And again, right up front, you have to demonstrate that you are in fact an active humanist and your involvement in humanism, and that you've attended an AGM and an online course. So that's just right up front on the website. And I'll talk about some core competencies and that you need to have that are evaluated from Ontario Humanist Society. So these are some of the key areas that applicants, because it's an application process, and these are about the 6 key areas. And significant life experience. Now, this would mean it would be your life experience that's relevant to the role of a humanist officiant. You'd also have to demonstrate or show by producing your certificates of post-secondary degree, diploma, and equivalent experience and training. And that's all assessed by the ceremonies committee. You'd want to demonstrate that you have an ability and interest in public speaking and group discussion, and actually a genuine interest in celebrating life rites of passage. Also, that you can comfortably explain secular humanism, especially to the general public, because you'll be meeting groups at events. Business skills, you'd want to show you have experience as a self-employed business person, or you've an entrepreneur, or that you can manage a small business, and you can demonstrate that you've got some record-keeping skills. And of course, a valid driver's license, a car, etc. So these are kind of key areas an applicant is asked to demonstrate. And then if you're approved to move forward, you must provide 2 character references, a criminal background check, a resume, an essay, undergo 2 interviews. So it is a pretty rigorous process, and it's because they want to get it right. They want to make sure that the fit is good for both the society and for the individual. And of course, humanist officiants are generally one of the only outward facing member of the humanist community. So it's important that in fact we are the best people, not the best people, but the best training and the best qualified and the highest motivated people are on board. So I'm going to just talk about the training. So once an applicant has moved through several stages, they can be approved for training, and it's generally held in April. And the training does provide officiants with sample ceremonies, templates, all sorts of forms, and there's role playing involved, and it will help an officiant understand the gamut of what the role requires. It's generally a 1 day with an additional assignment that is evaluated after the training, and then there's a cost to the officiant. Once approved, one of the key things is the officiant applies for a marriage register, and this is all of this is told in the training. So the second bullet point. That's, for me, this was sort of my heavy lifting. I wasn't very familiar with setting up this several years ago, with setting up my website and marketing materials. So even just to find out what your name you call your business, that takes a lot of research, because most of the good names are taken. So you have to kind of look to see, oh, surely I can just say, Janet performs weddings or something, taken. So that's, this was a bit of a work for me. I was lucky to get a good, I thought, a fairly good website, but some officiants actually go over and above this by they sign on to Wedding Wire or other types of services that can promote your business for you. And of course, you need to set up your files and office space. It's like a project. For me, I see this as sort of project management, because you've got many deliverables due different timelines. I'm a bit old school. I have sort of a whiteboard where I put some key deliverables, and then next to it, each wedding that I'm doing, because you may have multiple weddings in the hopper and they're all different due dates. So it's important that you have a structured space for that. And then of course you want to talk to your accountant and make sure that you understand any of the financial and legal requirements. And this is covered as well in the training. So top part, mine's a bit, it might be blocked off by the slide, but by the words at the top. Mine, it's getting married. What I was going to do is just give you an overview of sort of what's involved, the big picture, and then I'm going to drill down into some parts of it as to where the officiant needs to get more involved. So a couple gets a marriage license at the local Service Ontario Centre, and generally the wedding must be held within 90 days of that date. Now, during COVID, everything changes because, of course, Service Ontario was closed for a period of time. So there's some flexibility there. So the couple has to find an officiant. Now, sometimes they can go through Ontario Humanist Society, or they just Google non-religious officiant, or there's a number of ways that people will go. And then it's like over here. And so if they find me, I get a phone call, and we talk about their plans and my approach and my rates. And at some point after we've met and we have a meeting, we sign a memorandum of agreement, which is a contract, and that just sets out the roles and responsibilities of both parties and the expectations, and locks in the date for both of us. As well, there is some information on that contract about our complaints process, because the OHS is governed by an ethics committee. So we put that right out front. And of course, that's a good time. That's to get a deposit. In fact, to secure the date particularly. And these days, officiants are having an addendum talking about COVID and about only working if in fact that there are safe conditions, and we outline what those safe conditions are. So again, you'd meet with a couple and get all the information, and I'll go into this a little bit more because this is important. The first two bullets about listening to the couple, finding out what their love story is, what is it they're looking to do, what kind of feel, what tone do they want? Do they want it formal? Is it they want some humor? Because I take notes and write their love story, give it back to them to share with the group. So we go back and forth on that, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But the couples often, they have their own ideas about what they want. And again, as a trained officiant, you want to facilitate whatever it is they're thinking of doing. And say you have a couple that have already had their ring fingers tattooed. They don't want to do a typical ring exchange. So, okay, they want to exchange donut rings. So that's what they wanted to do. So my job is, okay, let's make it happen. And then I get involved more in the choreography. Where's the box? Who's going to get it? How are you going to exchange it? Is the bride going to have donut on her mouth? And they actually exchanged, you know, donuts, and each took a bite of it. So it was quite fun. And they were bodybuilders and teachers, and probably didn't eat much sugar. So this was such a treat for them. And it was definitely unique. It was very unique. And again, back to sort of getting married, the steps, if there's a wedding rehearsal, generally if it's a large party, you've got to schedule that in, and generally there's an extra fee for that. And on a wedding day, the officiant arrives early to help. And I'm going to be talking about this a bit more, but I'm just going to show you a few pictures. I'm going to jump to a few pictures. It just showed when an officiant arrives early, and it's not, say, at a yacht club, or it's not at Castle Omar, or it's where there's not a wedding planner, where everything isn't in place, and you arrive and it's, okay, the front, this is Black Creek Pioneer Village, and even the receptionist at the front desk didn't know there was a wedding at the back. And well, she didn't even tell me it was at the back. She didn't know where it was. So I found this sort of the back field. And generally you talk to the couple beforehand, and they explain to you, know, their friend is coming at such and such a time to set up. Okay, so that's all. Well, sometimes it doesn't actually happen. It might have been because the weather was a bit inclement, that it kind of was stalled. Off to the one side was going to be the catering setup, and nothing was moving when I arrived. So I just kind of wait until somebody comes, and then I've got to be ready to get in gear to pitch in as soon as the supplies. So it's, a friend came with a wagon and her husband, and it's like, okay, quick, what can I do? And I'm moving the chairs. I'd moved the chairs before that because I didn't like how they were set up. And so it's like, it's like that IKEA commercial. The people are coming, the people are coming. Quick. So that's always fun. You've got to be prepared to move quickly. I'm just going to go back then to that. This is the key part. That's really the creative part, but the nuts and bolts. So you've got to organize yourself so that I have a hard copy and an e-file of each for each wedding. And once I've met with the couple, and again, we used to meet in coffee shops or my place. You know, now it's you know, on Zoom. Or it's not happening until later. But then there's a first copy I would prepare. But we would have talked a lot about the mandatory components. And I was saying this, they don't understand. They still may think that you have to say, or, you know, for better, for worse, or for life, or until death do us part. That is not mandatory. There are only, and I can tell you at some point, perhaps later, there are only 2 mandatory statements that each person has to make. And then there's a mandatory declaration or pronunciation of marriage that I would make. The rest of it is all optional. They're personal vows or not, or I can suggest vows. And then I've got a lot of content that goes all around that, including their love story, etc. So they need to have a look at it. I give them lots of options. They may want to add some rituals or some readings, some songs. So we work all of that out. And then I send them, it's version control of documents, making sure that we get the latest one, the most final document we share back and forth. Some of them may want to do their vows privately from each other. So like the bride will send me hers and the groom his, and then I put them on nice cards and then give it to each of them at the right time in the ceremony. Or they may want to have it in a pocket, or they've memorized it. So there's all sorts, we have to just make sure all of that's organized, and where in the ceremony do we want to do that. And contrary to most thinking, rings and personal vows, those are optional. So the officiant has to then prepare the marriage license, get it all ready for signing, bring the register, there's a wedding binder, make sure you have a pen, you leave an envelope behind with them, and I'll talk about that later. So the officiant has a lot of sort of back office work before the ceremony. And then it's important to confirm exactly the day before, talk to them, okay, everything's still on track, good luck, etc. Let's just go over where we're going to meet again. And this is just, I put a star there to remind me, I was supposed to meet a couple at Bluffers Park at the beach. It was just going to be the photographer's wife and the bride and groom. And I thought I knew where they meant because I boated into Bluffers. I knew Bluffers Park. Well, I was with a gazillion people there that day. Whoops. I got into the parking lot, looked for them, couldn't find them. We were texting back and forth. I'm in the wrong parking lot. Okay, get in the car, go to another parking lot, still the wrong parking lot. Couldn't find them. Then apparently they were farther east. I drive to the other one. No, there's no spaces left. I have to talk my way through. So I was able to get through and park in a security area. Met the couple. Well, then there's like a quarter of a mile walk through not quite a quarter mile walk, maybe 200 meters, walk through this pathway to get to the beach. And then, of course, there are couples and families on the sand. Well, no, we had to find a private. So we walked, and we walked on the beach. So it's important to know that that might have happened. And, you know, footwear, choice of footwear, that's important. But it all worked out well. They found an intimate spot, but it takes time. I could have avoided that by probably being a bit more prepared. Oh, and this is just a sample of, it's good to have your presentation materials look very professional. And I always do a binder. I have a white or a black version of this binder. I put the names and kind of decorated a wee bit, some fancy signing pens. I do a personal card for myself, and I leave that envelope with record of solemnization. And I put in the personal card that stays with them, which a record of that the marriage occurred. I put in my business card. What I haven't showed you is the marriage registers there and the marriage license. So on the signing table, there's a number of items. So back to the wedding day, arrive before the ceremony. If it's a larger venue, check that any audio system is working. Set up your table and greet the couple and guests. Sometimes you find out that both sides have not met one another. The bride and groom, or the two brides or two grooms, the family hasn't met one another. I generally ask them if at our meetings if they can have family that will introduce each other, or who will do that. And I always ask us, who's going to be in the parking lot? Who's going to direct people to the venue? There's all types of logistics, but sometimes the officiant needs to be like a host. And it's generally, it sort of calms people down, and it kind of sets the tone a little bit. And if you're pleasant and approachable and introduce people, I find it generally is very helpful. And I always try to find where the witnesses are, talk to them, talk to the couple and the wedding party. The witnesses have to do a number of signings, so I like to get them aside, show them where I'm going to need them to sign, because there's a lot of signatures required. And it just avoids confusion in front of your guests at the conclusion of the ceremony. And again, a ceremony can go as long as you want. It's generally not, it's generally 15 to 20 minutes. Here's an example. I'm just going to show you some since we're talking about wedding day, that there are just a few photos that you might find interesting. So this platform is plexiglass, raised. When I said to make it crowded, there was the bride and groom. The photographer wanted to be on this platform. There's a stand-up mic. I don't know if you could see it in the middle. Then there's a signing table. So it was, you can see the chairs on the one side. So there was 100 chairs on one side, 100 chairs on the other. And as you can tell, this was actually Casa Loma. Lovely, lovely place. But as you can see, as an officiant generally does, you engage with a couple, but then you also look to the family on both sides, look to the wedding party, engage them in the ceremony, because all this circle of love. And of course I thought, oh, as I look to the left and I step back, I look to the right and I step back, I thought, this is not going to end well. Fortunately, I was not the story that day. But so this is a lovely venue in Scarborough. And this groom is a veterinarian, loved his dog, and she had a dog as well, but wasn't quite so well behaved, so it was not allowed to attend. But he had the dog, he was escorted down the aisle with rose petals. And of course, while the family was setting up and putting the rose petals and everything, the dog was left unattended. So that became my job, and that was great. And again, the dog, the dog and the bride, or the dog escorted both the couple up. It worked well. It worked very well. But of course, as an officiant, my job is saying, okay, once you walk down the aisle with the dog, where does it go then? Who's going to take control of the dog? And then let's just wrap that up, because that could go not so well if the dog's unattended. Oh, just a quick thing. I was in Bobcaygeon. The couple rented a house, and it was beautiful. And some family came from England, and they stayed in this rental place for a week, almost a week before the wedding. But the day I arrived, it was pouring rain. So this was just starting to get better. Pouring rain, and it's what to do. So they asked me if I could wait. Everybody was huddled in the house. Well, it was a huge house. It was no problem. But by that time, it'd be hard to have had the venue indoors. So it's like, my job was, okay, because all the catering was being set up inside, but there was on the outdoor deck were all little gifts and wine glasses, and the bar was being set up. And so my job was just, once the weather clears, how do we get into action? So the towel brigade, get those organized. And it's turned out, the sun did come out. And then it's all like, all right, who's doing what? Let's get set up. I actually ended up doing the ceremony right down by that tree. The ground was a bit soggy, and it was a wee bit close to the water. So again, footwear is important. But it turned out to be just a beautiful, beautiful day. And I was lucky that I was able to wait around, because we were delayed an hour. So for an hour, I can't go and sit in a corner in the house. You do have to engage with people and just sort of keep everything moving. Oh, this is just, I think it was my last one. So this was in Oshawa, municipal park. And municipal parks are great places for it, because it's usually no cost, but there's a permit. You have to check out permits. So the idea was that the family of this couple, I think it was the daughters of the gal, they were going to come early with their friends and drop weighted balloons all the way down the path from the parking lot all the way down the path to this beautiful gazebo hidden down at the end of of these pathways. But there was a creek, and it was quite a large park. So they were going to be early and have all this done. Well, of course I arrived, nobody around again. But so I go, there's the municipal building. I thought, okay, I'm just going to whip into the building to use the washroom before the ceremony. Locked, no washrooms. Oh, okay. Note to self, next time, check, are there going to be wash? And I'd driven, from Oshawa, so okay, that's fine. So then it's the quest to find out, where is the venue? Where is the gazebo? So I'm racing around all these paths and find some other people that say, oh, are you with this wedding party? Yes. We all trying to find it. We see some chairs set up, but only a few chairs. And people start arriving down from a hill from the back end, bringing chairs and set that up. So I helped with that. Meanwhile, eventually the gals with the balloons show up. And so we're trying to untangle them from these big bags and then putting them back up on the pathway quickly from the parking lot. So it was frantic. But again, things aren't always as smooth, but it turned out wonderfully well. Nobody minded, except those that required a washroom. Otherwise, it was a beautiful wedding. Again, public wedding, just because humanist weddings are generally held in public venues or private homes, condos, party rooms, rooftop patios. There's just so many options on a boat. But sometimes you do need to ensure some privacy. Now, this was, you recognize maybe Allen Gardens. So, but it's open to the public. They couldn't close it to the public. So they had said, no, the office, the administration said, no, we'll just kind of rope off a little area. And they think, yeah, this was the spot they wanted. A couple of stairs up and a couple of stairs down, tiny little spot. It was, they only had about 20 guests. And the office said, if you came about, I think it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you wouldn't find, the public wouldn't be there to interrupt. So that should be fine. So I got there, but they kindly roped it off a little bit, but it was like police tape. And I went, no, this is not a crime scene. That's not a good look. So I'm running around trying to get some ribbon. There's always things to do. And of course, I brought my own little signing table and, just to set up a little, because some places just say, well, sure, you can come at this time and just hope for the best. Anyway, it was short, quick ceremony. It was perfect. Again, I'll quickly, downtown. Oh, this was the music gardens. There were a few spots there I thought the couple might have chosen, but when I saw this, when I met them here, I went, oh yes, that's perfect spot. But what you can't see is just ahead of me is a grassy area, and people were sunbathing. Luckily, they were just a wee bit farther away. There was a heavy bench around, sort of nearby. I had one of the brothers help me lift it and put it in front, so we faced that area, so that the family, they're only about 10 people, so the family could look back on the couple. And it was perfect. The couple actually walked there from their condo, and it was exactly what they wanted. So just back to the wedding day, these are some key points that at the beginning, you have to ensure that the couple and the family agree that this is not going to be a religious ceremony. So I can talk more about that further on, just because I had experience where it really got down to it. That somebody did say, no, my uncle's a priest, he wants to be fully involved. Well, okay, let's talk about that. Family dynamics, again, sometimes there's language, cultural differences between both sides of the families. So that's sometimes interesting, or it's good to know. Again, some of the parents, most parents could be divorced, remarried. That's good to know too. And who's an ally, who's not. Same-sex weddings, joyful, great support there, but emotional as well in some cases. And in some cases, the one parent or two parents may not be supportive, and then becomes very emotional for the one person. You see the dogs. Oh, dog very comfortable there. I thought that was so sweet. It was in their backyard, this couple, and the dog was just roaming around. Lovely dog. And it was so sweet that when they're doing their vows, the dog just nestled in there. I thought that was the sweetest thing. Again, when I talk about joyful, it's all's well that ends well. And this was interesting because I went from this wedding to a military style wedding up in North York at the armories. And that was a very traditional, very formal wedding. So one does have to be, this was in High Park, but one does have to be a wee bit nimble to do the best. So you want every wedding to be the best and exactly what they want. Okay, just about finished. So the wedding day afterwards, again, there's 13 signatures in total. This is a fair bit of paperwork. So it has to be organized. And again, a little sticky, sign here, you sign here. It's so that everybody knows it's quite organized. We have to leave information with the couple. At the end of the ceremony, if you haven't got it already, obtain the balance of the fee. Sometimes that's a conversation has to happen even the next day if they've forgotten or whatever, and that's not a problem. And stay to congratulate the couple, family and friends. Mix where it seems appropriate. I generally say that you do not need to invite me to the reception, but I will stay around just to, to kind of as things cool down and they go off for drinks. I'll stay around for a little bit, and then I leave, and they get down to their own celebrations. And at the end, the officiant always needs, we have to mail the marriage license within 48 hours. I always take it right away to a post office that day. And of course, a marriage register, which is our official documentation of the marriage, we need to keep that safely. And again, at home, just like any file management, go through your documents, shred everything you don't need, and retain your records, retain all records, and ask that they send you your photos and testimony for the website. Now, sorry about this being so difficult to read. but I just took a photo of my website, and that some of you do want, this is the kind of stuff you want the feedback. It said, like, your kind demeanor and steady hand kept us calm and organized, went exactly as we had envisioned. We owe you a big hug, and then our gratitude, yours, la la la. This is the stuff, that keeps you going. You if you nail it, that's exactly what you want. And okay, quickly. So big COVID's been a big factor, and it may still going forward. We don't know. I had 8 or 9 weddings canceled. I'd refunded all the money. It just was, yeah, a big disruption, of course. But, you know, we do not want to be super spreader events. So we have to follow all public health guidelines, make sure that, in fact, we are on top of whatever the Service Ontario and the Public Health Authority say. Currently, it's 10 people indoors, 10 outdoors. And then, of course, there's still all that, you know, social distancing, masking, etc. And again, we include it now in our memorandum of agreement or our contracts. So if in fact they say, you know, there are going to be only 10 people, and yes, we will have masks, and this is what we're going to do to stay safe, and the Officiant arrives, and in fact there's 20 people who wants to wear a mask, then it's if it's written in the contract that, I'm getting feedback here, can refuse unsafe a working condition. Now, Zoom weddings, again, are not legally permitted, but of course they can be filmed, they can be shared. So the couple have to be in the presence of an officiant and witnesses there as well. So that just in case people thought, well, let's just do this whole thing by Zoom. No, that can't happen. And then the officiant, of course, we always make housekeeping announcements anyway about turning off your phone, etc. We'd say is please, you know, keep your masks on, etc. We would make sure that that happens, and that whatever we can do to keep the environment safe. And just from my perspective, yeah, what a privilege it is. Can you imagine being, you know, you get to be part or play a role in somebody's really most important day of their lives? Like how wonderful is that? And the growth gives a lot of growth by meeting new people, hearing their stories, kind of become very thoughtful and understanding of their journeys, etc. Now, the OHS community, I'm sure with Humanist Canada as well, the network of officiants in that community is wonderful. The web services devoted just to officiants, or resources, I mean, and everybody's willing to share their best practices and come up with ideas, and it's all shared, and there's ongoing professional development. So that's wonderful. Opportunity to introduce humanism. That's actually the first way I learned about humanism, and for some people as well. So it's important that we present well and we do it well, because we are, as the face of humanism to some people who have never heard of it before. And again, the creative outlet of being able to put a ceremony together, but it takes a lot of, one thing I didn't say is a lot of rehearsal. I should have said, not only do you prepare the ceremony, but I spend a few hours rehearsing it, trying to memorize it so that I can, some of the pictures often have me looking at, I'm looking up, engaging, that takes a lot of time. Again, rewarding on so many levels, but it won't generally pay your rent. So you need to know that. And then that's it. So yes, if maybe you've got some stories as well that you'd like to share, but I would direct you to the Ontario Humanist Society website, and again, or to Humanist Canada, so you can see both pathways if you're interested in becoming a Humanist Officiant. That's it.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for being here today. Certainly, it's been wonderful to see you here. Come visit us on Monday night at Beyond Believing, Wednesday night for the Hat Chat, and of course, come back next week. We have a wonderful topic that's being presented by our cross-border shopper, Carl, who's giving us a topic on fact versus opinion. So a very interesting sort of rationalist topic for next week. So with that, I will thank you for being here today and look forward to seeing you at a HAT event in the near future. So thank you very much, everybody.
Bye, everybody.